3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Colleen Odegaard. One day, I was an Emmy Award-winning television journalist, married to the love of my life, and had 2 beautiful children living under my roof. Then one day, I woke up to a life I didn't recognize. Divorced, in a career transition, with my 2 boys grown and out of the house. I had to get really comfortable being alone really fast, or I was going to lose my shit. This podcast is about reinventing yourself in a new season of life, getting to know yourself again, and having more peace, more love, more levity. This is Wake Up to Your Life. Welcome to the Wake Up to Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Colleen Odegaard. Hello, I'm back. Maybe you didn't notice I was gone. I am not self-important enough to think that you noticed, but maybe you did. Either way, I'm so glad that you're here joining me on the Wake Up to Your Life podcast. For those of you who are keeping score, I did stop the podcast for 2 years. It's been a little more than 2 years since I've released an episode. For those of you who are regular listeners, you're wondering, why? Where you been? As my mom, Bay from Vietnam would say, Colleen, what the hell? Where you go? What the hell? What you do? What the hell and what I do? Well, I'll tell you, I was here. I've been here, boo-boo. I've been here this whole time. I stopped creating new episodes of the show because I wasn't sure that I was serving you to the best of my ability. I wasn't sure that I was doing a very good job. I truly was running out of creative ideas. Like my juices were just not flowing like a menopausal vagina. Sorry to be so crass. Sorry, not sorry. But my creative juices were drying up and I just wasn't sure that I could do it anymore. I was depressed. I was still reeling from my divorce. I was missing my children. I became an empty nester. They went off to college. I quit my television job that I was doing full time to go all in on my business, which was podcasting, life coaching, video coaching, public speaking coaching. And the ability for me to run my business, I did that first before the divorce and the kids and all that. I quit the TV station job that I was doing. I was a broadcast journalist, for those of you who don't know, for many, many years, 30 years to be exact. And I quit to go all in on my side hustle. And then 5 months later, my then husband said he didn't want to be married anymore and everything kind of fell apart. So I was still reeling from that and just couldn't produce any more episodes of this show. Now I'm ready. I'm ready to do it again. And here's why. This is why I'm back. We all need to do more of the things that make us feel alive, that make us feel more alive. If you and I were sitting and having a cup of coffee, I would tell you to do that. If you say, gosh, I love writing, I never write. I love to hike, I love to ride my bike. I just don't really have time for it. Oh, I've been dying to take a yoga class or get my yoga teaching certification. Whatever the thing is that you love doing, that you lose track of time while doing, you should be doing more of that. It doesn't necessarily have to be your livelihood, but do more of it. And this is something that I love doing. I am more proud of this podcast than pretty much any of the professional work I've ever done. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but I really am. I went back and listened to some episodes and I thought, yeah, that was helpful. Like it actually was good. And so when it wasn't good any longer, I just didn't want to keep doing it. But I'm back because we all need to be doing more of the things that make us feel like who we are, more alive. And I haven't been doing that for 2 years. So I'm back. I love podcasting. I love the little community that we've created here. When I'm podcasting, I love having these rich, deep conversations with really smart people. When I do that, that enlarges me. It doesn't diminish me. And I want that for you too, to do more of the things that make you feel alive. So I want you to do some of that. Promise me that this week you will do something, make some time for something that makes you feel like more of you. God, she's so bossy. I'm not trying to be bossy. I just want you to live and wake up to your life. Get it? That's what I want for you. In the last time since we talked, some things have happened, as they do with the passage of time. I sold the family home that I was living in by myself, the family home I was living in with those people being my children and my then husband. So I sold the house I lived in with those people, and I moved closer into the city, into an apartment. And before you feel sorry for me, it's not just any old apartment. It is rad. It's awesome. It's sexy. I love it. I love the building where I live. I love my place. I've decorated it really pretty. I think your surroundings are important. I needed to look at something beautiful every day, and I love my place. And like I said, it's closer into the city, so that's really fun. I have walkability to restaurants and shops, and it's amazing. I didn't know how much I needed that move. I was living in that house after having lived with those people in it for so long. And then I was in it by myself and living with the ghost of what my marriage was. It was sort of me hanging onto the house was like hanging on to my previous life, which looked very different. It had changed because, listen, things are always changing, always in a state of change. Nothing is permanent. And if you don't like change, I understand. We resist it. Even if it's good change, sometimes we get very anxious and very worked up and nervous about it. But when we resist change, it just makes things harder on ourselves. Don't you find that to be the case? This is why we do the inner work. This is why we have to work on what's going on in here so that we can be more equanimous when things are falling apart around us, whether they're bad or good even, or good. Something else that's happened since we last talked, I buried my father. He died in October of 2024. And it was difficult for a lot of reasons. My mother had called me the night before he died and said, Colleen, I think it's time. I think it's time. I think it's time. And you've got to come here now. And I said, okay. Now, to be fair, my mother has cried wolf many times. I mean, she and my father have allegedly been dying for the past 40 years. I'm not kidding. She says stuff like that all the time. So I was like, is it real? I don't know. Okay, well, I booked a flight for the very next morning and I'm at the airport 10 minutes away from boarding. I'm at the gate. It's filled with people. I'm standing up. I don't even have a seat. And my phone rings. It's my mom. I thought, oh gosh, I better answer this. I answered. My mom is sobbing and she says, Colleen, you too late. You too late. He gone. He gone. And I was like, oh my God, Mom, I'm so sorry. And I felt I hated that I wasn't there to say goodbye to him before he passed. We hang up the phone. I said, Mom, I'll be there as soon as I can. I'm about to board the plane and I'm crying. And there's people all around me because the gate was so crowded. And while I was still on the phone with Mom, this woman comes up to me and gives me a pack of tissues, puts her hand on my back. And it's very sweet. And then when I hung up the phone, another young woman, she comes up to me and she says, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I'm supposed to give you a hug. Is that okay? I was like, yes, nobody ever touches me anymore. Yes, give me a hug. Oh my God, give me a hug. And I was sobbing, hugging this stranger young woman. And it was so lovely. And I share that bit just because I'm always moved by the kindness of strangers. I think it's beautiful. And I appreciated it so much in that moment. But my dad was ready to go. I mean, he had just turned 89 in October before he passed away. And he was, my father was a big 6'1". And by the time he died, he weighed 125 pounds, he was just emaciated, which coincidentally was my goal weight at that time, 125. Oh my God, she's making jokes about her dead father. What kind of a person is she? If you're too sensitive and you're too precious, don't listen to my show because we're going to make jokes here. All right. My dad would be okay with it. But oddly enough, I feel closer to him now that he's gone. We had a complicated relationship, but I feel almost closer to him now that he's gone because I have better conversations with him, in part because when I would call home to talk with my dad, he was almost deaf. He had hearing aids and still couldn't hear anything on the phone. So I'd call and he had a little closed captioning thing that's what helped him to be able to understand and have a conversation. But you would think like all hell had broken out. He'd pick up the phone. Hello. My mom would be on the other phone. His name's Carl. Colleen, she called. And it was like craziness. And she'd be listening on the other line. And I'd say, Mom, I really want to talk to Dad. And she would always be chiming in. So we have better conversations now that he's dead, oddly enough. But that was a big thing that happened. Burying my dad, now dealing with my mother who's living alone in California. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and my sister and I are trying to figure out what we're going to do about her. I also, since the last time we talked, I took a regular job back in television. I took a job in television, not on the air, but behind the scenes selling advertising. And it wasn't for the TV station I worked for before. And it was great. I met lovely people, like the nicest people. I made good friends at the building where I worked and met clients who became friends. It was lovely. However, I do feel like the best parts of myself and the things that make me more of me, the things that enlarge me, not diminish me, those things were left in the car in the parking lot. And I spent a lot of time sitting in front of a computer and cold calling and cold call emailing, if that makes any sense. And it's not my jam, wasn't my jam. So I did that. And then I recently quit that job. And now I'm trying to figure out what to do with the rest of my life. But I had this inkling I'm supposed to do the podcast. Remember what I said, do more of the things that make you feel alive and that enlarge in you, not diminish you. So that's what I'm doing. I'm figuring out what's next. So if you find yourself in a place of reinvention, jump on in. Come on, the water's warm. We'll do this together. We're going to do it together. Let's hang. Let's hang, man. Let's do this together. I'm in it too. We can figure things out alongside each other. I know this. If you have breath in your lungs, you can change your life. You can reinvent yourself. You can write the next chapter. I don't want to hear that you're too old or it's too late. You didn't start soon enough. That's nonsense. That's poppycock, if you will. It's poppycock, utter poppycock. That's a good word, poppycock. But it's nonsense. You really can. If you have breath, if you are here, which you are because you're listening to my voice in your AirPods or you're watching this on YouTube or listening on YouTube, you have the ability to change your life. So a little bit more about why I'm back. Why now? As I mentioned, I like doing this. It's important to me. And even more than that, in the past 2 years, I've learned so much. I've healed so much. I really went on this inward journey that changed everything, that taught me your circumstances don't have to be amazing for you to be okay. In fact, that's the work, right? How can we be okay when our spouse of 2 decades leaves us? How can we be okay when we file for bankruptcy? How can we be okay when you're laid off from your job or when that horrible diagnosis comes or, any transition in your life? How can we be okay when everything feels so chaotic? That's the work. So I want to talk to you about the things that I have done that have worked in my life that I'm still learning, I love being a student. I love learning. So I hope to interview incredibly brilliant people who are far smarter than I am to talk about ways we can all do this work together. One of the things I really learned how to do, and I think it's a lifelong process, but one of the things I'm working on doing is forgiving, learning to forgive. And I talk about this because I think there's so many of us who are angry or bitter about something someone else has done that we think has screwed us up and they did us dirty. Maybe we are angry at ourselves. Maybe you need to forgive yourself. And I know that this is important. The why of forgiveness is much easier than the how of forgiveness. We know why it's helpful to let go of bitterness. The how to actually do it is very difficult. My ex-husband and I very recently had a 36-minute phone conversation, and it was lovely. I have not experienced that with him since we split. We've had short conversations that were okay, but it used to be if we had to talk for any reason, I hated him and I was mad and you're bad and you cheated on me and you did me wrong and I held on to that and I cozied up with it. How did that make me feel in my body? Not great. Not great. Now I have a right to be angry about that, but I didn't want to carry it around. I mean, listen, I can ruminate with the best of them. There would be nights I would think about him. I would think about her. I get all fired up and pissed off and mad as hell, but I was only hurting myself. But this conversation we had, the reason it's poignant and worth noting is that we're on the phone. We had to talk about one of our kids, and that morphed into talking about some other stuff, like personal things. And we were laughing and we were joking. I was telling him about a recent trip I took to Italy, which is something that was on my bucket list, something I always thought he and I would do together. But I went with some of my best friends, had the time of my life, and we got off the phone after those 36 minutes. And I was like, well, that was nice. It was nice. I didn't feel angry. I didn't cry. It was so crazy. I didn't know that this could happen. It really is possible. So I'll talk about ways we do that, What you won't hear on this podcast, I'm not going to tell you how to make $1 million. I will let the hashtag Queen Boss Babes do that. Is that even still a thing? Producer Kristen, do people still use that terminology like boss babe and stuff?
It's dying out slowly.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's still around.
Yes.
Okay, it's still around. It should be gone. That should be dead. That should not wake up to its life. That needs to die. I don't like that. I'm not going to tell you things like that. I'm not going to tell you how to be the best ever and strive and perform and like reach your potential, because that sounds exhausting. Maybe we can call this like self-development for lazy people. Maybe that should be the subtitle of my podcast, self-development for lazy people. I'm kidding, of course, because there's nothing braver and more difficult than doing the deep dive work on yourself. That is the most important thing. So I'm not implying it's lazy, but just, you know, those people, they exhaust me when they're like, you can do it. And they're like, oh, I deserve the best. And I'm not that kind of speaker, I guess. I don't talk about stuff in that way. However, I do think that when you get your mind right, you heal what's hurting so badly inside of you, you touch the hurting places with love. I do think you are more likely to go out and create a life that reflects what you want it to be. That I believe. Because you're great just as you are. Except that one thing you do. Just kidding. I know it's scary out there right now. I do know that when you look at the world and the political landscape and all the things that are happening, I will say that something I think that has helped me get out of my funk over the anger and the fighting I see on social media, the anger that I felt in my own life toward, former friends who I lost in the divorce, my ex-husband, the woman who he had the affair with, all of those things would make me angry. And I just took it so personally. I kept it so close to the vest. What helps is when you get out of your own head and you do something good for somebody else. Do something good versus doing nothing. Do something good versus doing something nothing. Meaning if you are jacked up about what's happening in the world and you're fighting with people on Instagram, or you're typing in all caps on X, formerly Twitter, and you're fighting and you're trying to get other people to see your side, stop doing that. It's not going to work. It's not helping. Or do you find that it's helping? Ponder that for a moment. Does it actually help? How do you feel after you do that? After you engage in that kind of a discussion, not even a discussion, an argument with a stranger, probably someone you don't even know. I would rather see you go do a good thing for someone else. And it can be a teeny tiny small thing like bringing cookies to your neighbor. It does not have to be a big to-do or cost a lot of money or be some big old movement and a march. It could be that, but just start small. Do one nice thing for a person in your life or a stranger in your life. The more that we can learn to be kind to ourselves and to other people in our sphere, right? The better off we all are. People are counting on us to do the healing. I can tell you right now, in my marriage, I was emotionally dysregulated. I would get worked up and jacked up and spread that all over my ex-husband. Well, no wonder he, did what he did. Not that I'm taking all the blame for it, but I'm just saying there's an empathic story on every side, I think. I can't believe I'm saying it. You have no idea what growth this is. I never would have said this 2 years ago. Never would have said this 2 years ago. But I mean it now. But so the more we can learn to be kind and heal ourselves, the more we can forgive others, extend love, compassion, empathy to others. And that's how I think we change our subcultures and the worlds. So kumbaya, motherfuckers, right? I just think that's how we do it. Your homework. I'm not always going to give you homework, but 2 things. Do something that makes you feel alive, something that makes you feel like more of you, that grows you, that expands you, and do something nice for another person. Do one nice thing for another person. Get out of all your problems in your brain, get out of all of that, and go do something nice for somebody else. And that's it. So thank you for listening to the Wake Up to Your Life podcast, which is now back. Please subscribe. I have a friend who always messes up words, and she'll say prescribe instead of subscribe. She'll mix up the words. So prescribe to the Wake Up to Your Life podcast. Just hit the little button that says subscribe. You can do it there. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, any platform in which you listen to podcasts. You can also Find us on YouTube, as I mentioned. We're there too. And please tell a friend to listen if you think that this show can help them. You can share it with them, take a screen grab, put it on your Instagram, and follow me on Instagram as well. If you want me to come out and speak to your group, speak to your team at work, speak to your book club or at your conference, I'll come. We'll travel. We'll talk. I have got a microphone. Yes, would love to do that. You can hit me up on the DMs in Instagram. Okay? Thanks so much for listening. I'm rooting for you. Thank you so much for listening to the Wake Up to Your Life podcast. I love connecting with you, so reach out to me on Instagram at Colleen_Odegaard. My podcast is also on YouTube now, so you can leave a comment on the podcast episode and tell me what resonated with you. You can subscribe to my channel at the link in our show notes. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next episode.